Very recently, I had the opportunity to summit the highest mountain on this planet, Mount Chomolunga, also known as Mount Everest. Chomolunga means in Tibetan language, the goddess of the mother of mountains. So when someone asks you, why did you want to climb Mount Everest? For some people, the answer might indeed be because it's there. For me, it wasn't the case. I had a lot of pushback, not just in my life, but also regarding Everest. People would ask me, why do you want to fly? It doesn't make much sense for your career. Why do you want to study engineering? It doesn't fit you. Why do you want to work in the tech industry? You said you wanted to help people, not just yourself. Why do you want to run marathons? Your body isn't made for it. Or, especially, why do you want to climb Mount Everest? You can't do it. So I received a lot of pushback, and I learned very early on that the more people push, the more you're on the right track, and the more you need to keep going. So you might see this picture and think, oh, she looks cool. She has a cool outfit. It's probably related to the mountaineering. And you might think about the items on the right. Oh, what do they have in common with each other? It's probably just related to her gear. For me, each item represents a struggle that I experienced when I prepared for this journey. Not only did I have to pick up new skills and climb different mountains and made a 3-year plan and made sure I was dedicated to each and every milestone in the plan, I also had to prepare regarding gear. Plus, you go to a store, and the stuff that's there is mostly for men, the applicable gear. The other stuff you have to order online, and you have to guess if it's the right size or it's not even there in the first place. So I contacted these companies, and their main feedback was consistent. They said, the market segment is too small. So I dug a little deeper, and I tried to understand then what is the market segment. In 2017, the percentage of women on Everest was 12%. 2018, it was 18%. This year, it was 20%. Now, it's increasing. That's a good sign. But we're not there yet. And I think exploration is an industry, so the number of customers matter. And we need to represent the women in the exploration industry better. We need to have 50% representation as well as of diverse people joining the industry. More and more companies, they come up with collections that are different from the expert gear. It's for general public. It's to make people interested in the outdoor industry, which I find very, very important. The current narrative is usually told from a masculine perspective. We talk about conquering a mountain, slaying it. Whereas the female perspective might be a little bit different. We think about respect, humility. We look around. We say, I admire the nature around me. It's a very different way of looking at the same things. So even though exploration has usually been told by a lot of men, women were part of the journey. These photos were taken in the 1800s, and these are women who were not supposed to climb, and they were not supposed to wear anything but a dress. It didn't stop them. So these are climbing dresses, and they had woolen gear underneath to stay warm enough, but it kept going. So people say it's a journey that defines the summit. For me, this is very figuratively, right? Because just getting to the summit wasn't enough. I had to go down, back to base camp, and beyond. But yeah, I had to pick up a lot of new skills. And a lot of times, I heard a lot of people say, oh, are you sure you can do this? And it made me very, very insecure. Especially my team on Everest. People were so highly skilled, I looked up to them. I thought, I'm not as good as they are. I was born under sea level. It doesn't make any sense. So I learned very quickly that you can develop all these skills. Everyone can do it. And it's about trying. I'll tell you about my personal journey. So we arrived in Kathmandu. From there, we took the plane to Lukla. And it took about 10 days to get to base camp. People got very sick on the way. You try not to get sick. You try to stay away from everyone else so that you guarantee that you can summit. But everyone got sick. Anyway, we got better, arrived in base camp. And the climb consists out of 4 different parts, 4 different rotations. You don't just get up the summit. It's called acclimatization. Your body has to get used to the altitude. You have to build red blood cells. Plus, you need to learn how to work together with your team and to learn the techniques that you need on the mountain, or at least rewind them. So this is on La Bouche Peak. That's where this photo is taken. This is a peak in the same valley as Everest, and we climbed it first. Then, the next rotation, it was to Camp 1. In order to go to Camp 1, you have to cross the Khumbu icefall. And I was very excited about this, because I knew this is the entrance and the gateway to Everest. And you go through the Khumbu icefall about 6 to 7 times, depending on your mission. The first time, I was very scared. People were super confident. And again, I was questioning myself. Am I good enough? Can I do it? I don't think so. I've never done this before. It's very unstable ice, so it doesn't feel comfortable. You leave around midnight so that it's cold and the snow and ice is as stable as it can be. And since it's the second rotation, you think, oh, I'm halfway, but you're not nearly there. Mentally, it's especially tough, because at this point, you're away from your friends and family for about 1.5 months. You have to just keep going. Then, from Camp 1, you try to get to Camp 2. When we tried to get to Camp 2, we saw a lot of avalanches, and there was a jet stream that was passing by while we were there, so I wasn't feeling safe. I didn't feel like I was conquering the mountain. I felt weak. I didn't feel strong at all. Although it went well, my condition was good, everything was fine, I kept doubting myself. Here on this photo, you can see the ice walls that you have to cross vertically. It looks a little bit like this. And it might look easier than it is. At the same time, you're close to 7 kilometers high. You're carrying a heavy backpack, and you don't have oxygen yet at that point. So this is what we saw when we arrived in Camp 2. Scared? Are we okay here, Della? Della running that way. People are... Okay, so in the first place, you're thinking, oh, it's a big avalanche. At the same time, this happens all the time. During the day, during the night, you go out of your tent just to make sure that you're safe. But this one was particularly close, and just after the video stopped, people started running away. You get used to it. Then from Camp 2 to Camp 3, this is what it looks like. There's a steep ice wall of about 800 meters. You climb halfway another mountain, which is the Lhotse Peak. Then you cross to go to Everest. Camp 3 is not necessarily a safe place to be. You have to stay attached to the line at all times. There are so many stories of people getting detached, sleeping, and then falling off the mountain. From Camp 3 to Camp 4, that was a very specifically difficult journey for me. So on the way, it's the first time where I saw people who passed away only recently before I got there. And one person in particular, it was a woman, and all I was thinking was, she's someone's wife, someone's mother, someone's child. I kept thinking about her. And then we had to cross 2 technical sections, the Yellow Bend and Geneva Spur, 2 very steep rock sections. And I just kept thinking about her. We got in Camp 4, which is where the death zone starts, at about 8 kilometers high. The death zone is in which your brain and body just can't stay too long. You need oxygen to survive, or you just need to clear the area very quickly. So we arrived there at 2 p.m., and we left for the summit rotation at 8 p.m. So we didn't have much time. We just had to pack, eat something, and leave. That day, I summited Everest at 4:30 a.m. It was beautiful. The sunrise was gorgeous. I saw all the mountains around me. I saw the shadow of Everest on the mountains around me. It was incredible. I did not feel proud. I did not feel like I conquered a mountain. I felt super weak, because on my way down, I got very, very sick. I got altitude sickness. Never expected to get that, because any other mountain I've ever climbed, I didn't have that. What happened is I was coughing pink liquids. I had liquid in my lungs. I couldn't see much. I was dizzy. I kept falling. And on top of that, my oxygen mask didn't work. I ran out of oxygen. My radio didn't work, and my cell phone didn't work. So my systems that I relied on, they all stopped or started failing on me. And on top of that, I was stuck in the line that you see on photos in the media, because there were only 2 good days this year on Everest because of the weather window. Well, I was stuck in the dead zone, feeling very, very sick. And all I was thinking about was, come on, Daphne, you can do better than this. So it was the opposite. Suddenly I started encouraging myself and starting to think about the people around me and why I'm doing this. I had to get down as soon as possible. I also knew, even though I get to Camp 4, I'm not safe. You have to get down in order to be better from this sickness. This is the view from the balcony. So the balcony is under the south summit of Everest. This is where people store their oxygen bottles. And you see those people are exhausted. You're so tired at that point. You can't even imagine what it feels like. And I was very sick. And at some sections, I was literally dragging myself down. This is where I met a good friend of mine. We shared all the struggles that we experienced in base camp regarding the local culture. It's the whole 1,000 cuts that kill you. Another woman on Everest. We became instant friends. And I learned that instead of putting pressure on each other the night before you go on a climb, you can talk about, ooh, I look forward to tomorrow because the nature is going to be gorgeous. I look forward to look around me and just admire what's there. So understanding and solidarity for me equals fun. And because it was so much fun, we're also planning our next trip. The next, we want to cross Greenland with an all-female team and do more research on climate change. Because what we see is when people work on themselves and they get in trouble, they're super motivated to fix problems. They go to the gym, they see a therapist, they do everything to get better. When it comes to big problems, we don't do that. We don't make a plan, we don't stick to it. We don't set those milestones that we should be setting. We want to change that, and we're going to start by ourselves. So main takeaways, we all belong here. Exploration is for everyone. People should join exploration and be motivated by what they're seeing. Always focus on what's best for the mission, so big picture versus small picture. Especially when you do expeditions, small things matter. If you get a blister on your foot, for example, it matters if you have to keep climbing for another month. When people push back, you're likely to be on the right track, so you have to keep going. And finally, big problems are ours to solve, not just our own problems. So I'd like to invite everyone to join the outdoors and to admire the things around you and feel the humility and feel the respect for what's around you and understand what are the problems you want to solve. Thank you.